happy, very late Monday, but I have been on the road for the past 2 weeks, and so I was bound and determined to get this Marianne Monday video out. So this weekend, I had to work, boo, and as I was working, I had Desperate Housewives playing in the background. Now, before you stop me, hear me out. Let me finish the story. I promise you there is a point. So currently I am watching season 8 of Desperate Housewives, and in this season, Tom and Lynette Scavo separate. And in the particular episode that I was watching, Tom brings over dinner for the family, and he brings over pizza. And Lynette opens the pizza box and she says, "Oh, you got regular crust pizza. I like thin crust. Well, thanks for bringing it over." And I remember as I was listening to this conversation going on, I had this automatic thought, and I was like, oh my gosh, Lynette, why did you say that? That's the reason that Tom left you. And keep in mind that it was like a cringeworthy moment. But anyhow, I had work to do, so I continued to type away. 5 minutes later, Desperate Housewives rolls back to Tom and Lynette, and here's the conversation that I saw. Tom said, "Yeah, my girlfriend Jane, she's pretty positive. For example, she really wouldn't have mentioned the pizza and getting the wrong crust." And Lynette says, "I know, Tom. As soon as that came out of my mouth, I knew I shouldn't have said it. But here's the deal. For 23 years now, I've been telling you that I like thin crust pizza, and you've never gotten it. And when you don't hear that I like thin crust pizza, I feel unimportant to you." Tom's response was, "Wow, I had no idea that you felt that way." And as I listened to this interaction, I was like, oh my gosh, we live in a world where we communicate like Lynette. We get frustrated or hurt by a situation, and whatever automatic thought that we have pops out of our mouth in such a way of, you never get the right pizza. Now here's why this matters. When we say things like, you should, you always, you never, the other person doesn't hear feelings. What the other person hears is that you are nagging, they aren't good enough, and what you wish is that they would be more. Now, I want you to think about it. If you were having a conversation and somebody made you feel like you weren't good enough, like what would that do to your communication? That's right. It would pretty much shut it down. Now, if you look at the second conversation that Tom and Lynette had, Lynette decided to use her feelings words. So here's where this becomes really important. I'm going to challenge you all to think about those automatic thoughts that you have that just pop of your mouth in the form of, you never get the right pizza, you never put the dishes away, you never, whatever it is, show up on time, you never listen. All of those comments that we make that have the other person feel like they aren't good enough. And instead of making those comments, I want you to start using feelings words. Now, what I'm going to recommend that you all do is get this thing called a feelings wheel. I have an example of a mobile one right here. I actually travel with it because feelings words matter so much to me. This was created by my friend Emily Estes of the Recovery Box. And as you can see, it just has all of these different feelings words on there. You can get this from the recoverybox.com, or you can even just Google feelings wheel and download your own. But here's going to be my challenge to you. The next time somebody in your life does something frustrating and you say something like, oh my gosh, you never get the right pizza, I want you to stop and I want you to say, why am I frustrated about the pizza? Get out your feelings wheel and see, can you find a word that correlates with your frustration? So in this case, by Tom not getting the right pizza, Lynette felt unimportant. And let me ask you this. Which is going to get you further in your communication? You never get the right pizza? Or when I tell you multiple times that I like thin crust and it is ignored, I feel unimportant to you? Yeah, I think it's going to be that second one. So let me also give you another tool on how you can express your feelings. And I just kind of gave you a preview, and that is the phrase, when this happens, I feel because. This is one of my most favorite phrases to teach in conflict resolution because I think that it is a power phrase when it comes to communicating how you are feeling. So let me explain the phrase and then I will give you an example. So when this happens, this is always an action or a behavior. You can change actions or behaviors, but you cannot change personality. So you want to make sure that when you go and talk about your feelings that you are focusing on something that the other person can actually change should they decide to do so. The second phrase is I feel. What I want you to think about when it comes to the I feel is instead of saying I feel upset or I feel hurt or I feel sad or I feel angry, get out your feelings wheel and see if you can't find a more particular feeling that you feel other than hurt, upset, or angry. And then the last part of that phrase is the because. The because is the reason that you feel the way that you do and why you are even bringing up the subject. So the phrase that you should use to start expressing your feelings is, when this happens, I feel because. So using the pizza example, and what Lynette pretty much said was, when for 23 years I've been telling you I like thin crust pizza and you never once get it, I feel unimportant because how many times do I have to tell you that's my preference? Oh my gosh, what a life lesson. I was actually thinking about how you could probably go through my text messages and see how many times I've used like passive aggressive, like you're not good enough phrases, because they just happen. They're just automatic thoughts. But I think that these automatic thoughts over time, when we actually say them out loud, can hurt relationships as opposed to help them. So grab yourself a feelings wheel, practice your when this happens, I feel because, and just see what type of doors open up with you as far as communication. So I'm going to close on this. It is very late on a Monday, which means that, come here, little man, come here, which means that, oh, Alexander Hamilton has been recording with me. You all usually do not get to see him because he is at puppy daycare, but because it's nearly 10 o'clock at night, daycare isn't open and he is home with me. So we now are going to say goodnight. Can you say goodnight? Goodnight, everyone. No, he doesn't talk. He's a dog. So anyhow, I hope you enjoyed this Marianne Monday. If you are watching this video because somebody shared it on Facebook, please make sure that you go and like the Work Warrior page. That way you don't ever miss another video. Anyhow, I will see y'all later this week with the Marianne Fun Friday. Enjoy your 4th. Bye.